don't know, but this is what they do now. I will say this, is whenever they're trying to justify a crackdown on somebody, they create a social media disinformation campaign about them, right? I'm not saying that's what's happening to him because I don't know about it. And I said that a bunch of times. So please don't say that I'm saying that he's victim of a disinformation campaign. That's not what I said because I don't know enough to say that. But like at our conference, we had the Uhuru movement that is under attack by the American government speak at our conference. The Uhuru movement, I know about. These are black liberation activists who are anti-imperialists who stand with Russia, and the U.S. government raided their homes, pointed guns in their faces, and terrorized them. And a week later, we had them come to our conference and we defended them. All of BreadTube that claim to be so woke, and they love Fred Hampton, and they love the Black Panthers, and oh, they're just so woke. Oh, they have Black Lives Matter tattooed on their chest, and oh my God, and they just, oh, they're so woke. They just love Black freedom. Oh, they're just the most woke people. You know what they did? This is what they did in response to the Uhuru movement being the victim of FBI raids. They said the Uhuru movement is the same as Black Hammer, which it ain't. And Black Hammer is accused of all these things that Uhuru is not accused of. So therefore, they deserved it. And that's what Vosh said on his stream. That's what all of them said. That is disinformation. Uhuru is not Black Hammer. Uhuru is not accused of kidnapping or false imprisonment, and no one died in the Uhuru movement. It's a lie. But it's all over Twitter that Uhuru movement deserves what they're getting from the FBI because they're the same as Black Hammer. And that is the power of disinformation. And what's going on is the FBI wants to go after the Uhuru movement. But they know for the government to go after a group of Black revolutionaries right now ain't a good look. So they've clearly intentionally created a disinformation campaign to convince you that Uhuru movement is the same as this other group. Now, I don't even know if Black Hammer is guilty of what they're charged with, honestly. I don't know. I just don't know the details, right? I mean, I know that there's these allegations against them, but even Black Hammer, right? Like, I mean, yeah, I don't agree with them. And Uhuru also. I don't agree with Uhuru's position on the white working class. I don't agree with their position that the white people are the exploiters. They have that line. I don't agree with that. Black Hammer thinks the same thing. I don't agree with that. They take the position that the white working class are not working class. They're exploiters. It's like the third worldist position. It's not my position. That doesn't matter. Black Hammer has taken that position to some rather extreme things. They burned copies of what's her name? Anne Frank's, diaries and stuff. That's not cool. I wouldn't do that. But that doesn't mean they deserve to be locked up and killed by the government. Doesn't mean they deserve to have their homes raided by the FBI. They've accused them of some nasty things. I don't even know that they're guilty necessarily of what they've been charged with. They might be, but maybe they're not. Right. And maybe, we shouldn't all be cheering when the government goes after a group of Black activists who take anti-imperialist positions. Right. And so, on top of that, we don't even know if Black Hammer is guilty of what they're charged with. Uhuru has nothing to do with Black Hammer, a completely separate group. But BreadTube, Vosh, ContraPoints, Thought Slime, all of them support the U.S. government going after this group of Black revolutionaries. All of them. All of them. Right? All the big BreadTubers support the U.S. government raiding the homes of the Uhuru movement. And if that doesn't tell you right there who they work for, and this is how they work. This is how the U.S. government works. In order to get somebody, you have to create a disinformation campaign, right? Before Hitler put the Jews in the gas chambers, he had this guy named Julius Streicher. And Julius Streicher made all kinds of propaganda to convince the German people the Jews deserved it. Well, that's what BreadTube is. Before the U.S. government raided the homes of Uhuru, they went to Vosh and Thought Slime and ContraPoints and said, all right, now when we do this, you're going to say they're Black Hammer so that all these people who claim they're concerned about Black rights won't do anything about it. Right? And it just shows you these people ain't woke. If Fred Hampton was alive today and Fred Hampton was murdered by the U.S. government, they'd find an excuse to support it. What these people don't understand is that revolutionaries never support and go along with the ruling class. If you're on the same team as the ruling class, in most circumstances, you ain't a fucking revolutionary. These people don't get this. It's cool now to support Fred Hampton. But back in the 1960s, if you supported Fred Hampton, you got canceled for it. You lost your job for it. These fucking people don't understand that. You're not a revolutionary by being cool. You're not a revolutionary by going along with what the government wants you to believe, with what mainstream media wants you to believe. And it's beyond me how these people don't get that. And it infuriates me. It infuriates me that they don't get that. These were the very people that they would have been supporting the murder of Fred Hampton, right? The next day in the Chicago newspaper, what did the headline of the paper say? Vicious Panther attack. And they blamed the Black Panthers. And these are the same people that say, if you disagree with mainstream media, you're spreading conspiracy theories. You're working for the Russians, the enemy. They would have supported killing Fred Hampton because mainstream media doesn't lie. Are you spreading conspiracy theories? That sounds like Russian disinformation. Wasn't Fred Hampton tied in with the communist group? That's how they would have talked. Revolutionary, if the government is telling you to do something and is promoting something, for the most part, repeating it loudly doesn't make you a revolutionary. And nothing pisses me off more than when people take absolutely mainstream positions and act like they're martyrs for doing it. I just want to slap them. It infuriates me. All the shit I've taken in my life for being a revolutionary, for being an anti-imperialist, for supporting North Korea and Cuba and Venezuela and Russia and China, right? All the shit I've taken in my life for those positions. And these people say exactly what their bosses and their college professors and their teachers and mainstream media says. And not only do they not have the power to think independently, but they walk around like they're heroes. You know, when I was in college, there were all these shitheads who would never protest the U.S. invasion of Iraq. Never had the courage to protest the invasion of Iraq. But they took a stand for Darfur. I'm outraged by China's backing of genocide in Darfur. Shut the fuck up. You don't know anything about Africa. You don't have the courage to protest what your own government is doing. You think you're some kind of a heroic martyr. You know, I was at the UN one day, and a busload of high school kids that were there with Amnesty International walked in. And these kids, they've all got their piercings and their tattoos and their long hair. And this one kid gets off the bus. He's got a shirt, Free North Korea. Oh, wow. What a radical you are, kid. Yeah, that's right. You know, you're sticking it to Kim Jong-un in America, right? I mean, that takes courage. Everyone here loves Kim Jong-un. Everyone here loves North Korea. Free North Korea. Yeah, free North Korea. I'm a revolutionary. Oh, shut the fuck up. I hate this. I really, really, really hate this. I've always hated this. You know, I've always hated this. When people repeat the government line, they repeat the standard line, and somehow they dress it up as this like righteous, heroic stand. Yeah, people that take righteous, heroic stands go to jail for saying it. Martin Luther King went to jail for what he believed. He eventually got killed for saying it. So no, you wearing your Free North Korea t-shirt doesn't make you a hero. It doesn't. You know, I mean, I'm sorry, I'm getting all bent out of shape here, but it must be said. I mean, it's so annoying to me. It's one of my biggest pet peeves when people think that somehow they're being heroic by following the ruling party line and repeating the lies of the ruling class. Somehow they're like sticking it to the man or something. No, you're not. No, you're not. No, you're not. Right? And the fact that these people found an excuse to support at a time when they're all doing this stupid performative wokeness, They're all such experts on white privilege. They all love the Panthers. And then the U.S. government raids the home of a group of black revolutionaries. And they lie in order to support it. That shows me who these people really work for. And we shouldn't be surprised. The fact that certain YouTube channels get hundreds of thousands of views lying about socialism, lying to support U.S. foreign policy, and we get marginalized, we shouldn't be surprised by that at all. Because that shows that, we're being marginalized. We're genuinely a threat to the status quo. Now, the time will come when the divisions in the ruling class will intensify, when the contradictions of capitalist society will be such that the society can't continue to function in the old way. They will become such that there will be an opening for us to build an anti-imperialist revolutionary movement, right? And that we will continue. We're going to be on the margins of U.S. society for the time being, right? We are. But we can build on the margins. We can build on the margins. We can build our community. We can build our network of people. And that should be our focus. This online stuff, this is great. And I'm going to keep being on here every night. And this keeps us alive. Every time you come on this stream, you're connected to this community. And that's why it's important that I do this every night, because you're connecting to this community. Right? And that's why I'm on here. I want to connect with all of you, right? You're connecting to the community. This is a breath of life. This is a spiritual connection to our community that you have on here. So we're going to keep doing this online stuff, but it ain't just about that. It's about building community. It's about building a network. It's about having events, about knowing each other, loving each other, learning to trust each other, building a network. And then when the time is right, the capitalists will begin fighting more intensely with each other. The working class will be brought more into the political sphere. The conditions in the country will worsen. And there will become a time when our network and our community, based on our ideology and our beliefs, will expand to be much more than it is. I believe that we will play an integral part. We will be a small part of America moving toward 21st century socialism. We'll be part of it. We'll be part of 21st century socialism coming to America. It'll be much bigger forces involved than us. There will be people in the government that are already in the government now that come over to our side, or we come over to their side, or whatever, however you want to put it. There will be all kinds of things that will have to happen. We will be a small part, but we will be laying the ideological foundation, because no one's talking like us. All around the world, communists talk like us. In Africa, communists talk like us. In Asia, communists talk like us. In Latin America, communists talk like us. But here in the United States, they don't. They don't, right? I mean, name me one communist party that is in the world and in power anywhere. Name one communist party that is in power that doesn't support Russia. Name one. One communist party that's in power, that's running the government, and doesn't support Russia. There isn't one. The Communist Party of Vietnam supports Russia. The Communist Party of Cuba supports Russia. The Communist Party of China supports Russia. The Communist Party, the Korean Workers' Party, they support Russia. The Communist Party, the Nicaraguan Sandinistas, they support Russia. The United Socialist Party of Venezuela, they support Russia. Name one. There is no communist party that is in power anywhere in the world that doesn't support Russia. Right? The MPLA of Angola, they support Russia. The South African Communist Party, they support Russia. There's no communist party that is in power, that is the ruling party, that does not support Russia. In Kerala, India, the communists run this province of India. The Communist Party of India Marxists, they run India. And you know what? They support Russia. These are facts. These are facts, folks. Communists everywhere sound like me and don't sound like these idiots on the internet. That's just a fact, right? Communists around the world support Russia. Communists in America ain't communists. They're hipster kids LARPing, And on top of that, right, I've said many times that people should be able to live their lives. If people want to be gay, they can be gay. People want to be trans, they can be trans. It's not my business. But do you think that look at what the Korean Workers' Party has written about homosexuality? Look at what, in China, what is the attitude toward homosexuality? What is the attitude toward homosexuality in Vietnam? A lot of these places are blatantly anti-gay. Cuba is very pro-LGBT, right? They have gay marriage there, etc. But if you think that obsessing with the LGBT issue is what it means to be a communist, you have no idea what the international communist movement is about. In the third world, there is a big layer of communists who think homosexuality is bourgeois decadence. And there's a big layer who don't. There are many communists who think the opposite, who think that homosexuality should be supported. They support LGBT rights. But if you think that communists around the world are like American communists, where they sit around and obsess about LGBT rights and they're canceling people for being transphobes, that's just not what they're doing. Even in Cuba, the Communist Party in Cuba, they're pro-trans, they're pro-LGBT, but do you think that they're canceling people who aren't? No. Do you think that, that they're kicking out and expelling members of the party that don't agree with that? No. No, they're not, right? That's just, they've taken that position, and that's to their credit. I agree with that position. I think it's good that Cubans can get married. Cubans of the same gender can get married now. I think that's a good thing, right? But at the same time, I also think it's good that the Cuban Communist Party doesn't obsess about that issue. It's something that they have changed their position on over the years. I respect that, but they don't make that the focus, because that's not what being a communist is about. Being a communist is not about obsessing with woke cultural crap. That's just not what being a communist is about. And if you think that's what it's about, or you want me to be about that, you're in the wrong stream. And I'm at the point where I'm not worried. If you're listening to this now and saying, oh my God, Caleb, even though he supports gay marriage, even though he has trans friends and respects trans people, he's erasing my identity by not talking about my issue on the stream. Well, then get lost. I don't care. I'm not going to pander to wokeness. But to be fair, if you are somebody who is anti-LGBT, if you think that homosexuality is bourgeois decadence, you are of the position that trans women are threats to regular women, and you want me, and you're saying, why is Caleb not standing up against the menace of homosexuality? Well, you're on the wrong stream as well, right? That's not what I'm on here to talk about. I am not on here to talk about sex. I'm not on here to talk about people's personal lives. You can live your personal life however you want. I don't care. You can be married. You can be not married. You can be polyamorous. You can be monogamous. You can be homosexual. You can be bisexual. You can be transsexual. I don't care. I'm not on here to talk about that. I am not on this stream to compare my sex life to yours. I am not on this stream to criticize your sex life, to approve of your sex life, or disapprove of it. I'm just not here to do that. And if that isn't enough for you, whatever position you take, you're in the wrong place. And I will stand firm in this. I want trans and gay people to feel welcome in CPI, and I want people that are morally opposed to both of those things to also feel welcome in CPI. That's what I want. If you're trans or gay, I want you to feel welcome here. And if you're opposed to those things because you're a Christian or a Muslim or a Jew and you oppose those things, or a Buddhist or whatever, I want you to feel welcome here as well. And I am sick and tired of communist spaces obsessing over that issue. I am sick and tired of it. I'm sick and tired of it. I did not become a communist. When I was young and I got interested in communism, do you think I heard, wow, there's this group of people somewhere who are gay? No. It's not, oh, wow, there's this group of people that are anti-gay. No. I didn't get interested in communism to talk about gay people or opposing gay people. I just didn't. I'm just not interested in that. And YouTube is full of, channels all about that. And there's all kinds of groups you can join, woke activist groups that'll do that with you, that'll accommodate that on your part. I ain't going to do that. I ain't going to do that. And like I said, I'm at the point, better, fewer, but better. Better, fewer, but better. I would rather work with people who get this and have fewer of them than work with a lot of people who don't get this. Because I like to get along with people. It's one of my weaknesses. I want to get along with people. I like to build community. I like to see people coming together. And because of that, I will often tolerate bullshit from people. And I will often chase after people and try to get people to be part of communities they're reluctant to be involved with. And if I'm going to have a New Year's resolution this year, it is no more chasing after people. You don't want to be here? Move along. Move along. Olympia, she knows me well. Olympia knows me well, and I'm Mr. Nice. Exactly. I am Mr. Nice. I am Mr. Nice. You know, it's funny. I got upgraded to supervillain this year, but I'm Mr. Nice. I'm way too nice. And, you know, I am way too nice. And this year, I'm not chasing after anybody. I'm not going to be mean to people. I'm not going to be mean to people. I'm not going to drive people away. But if people don't want, don't want what I have to offer, don't want what CPI has to offer, see ya. A lot of the problems we had this year were more or less rooted in the fact that there were people who were just along for the ride. Now, obviously, the fact that a lot of people were just along for the ride came up at a certain time. But the problem really was that there were certain people that were just along for the ride. They hadn't read my books. They hadn't attended our lectures. They hadn't watched the Saxton lectures. They hadn't listened to what it was about. They just said, Caleb's got resources. Caleb's got money. Caleb's got a group of people around him. He can do stuff. And so maybe we can benefit from being around this group that's got resources and got money and stuff like that. And that was my mistake. And that happens, right? It's one of the dangers of doing stuff, right? When you appear to have resources and you appear to be doing stuff and you're building a community, there's going to be a lot of people who come along. To be part of this community, you have to know what it's about, right? You have to know what it's about. You have to, if you're going to be part of building CPI, you need to read this book, our educational manual, and you need to more or less agree with it. And we want to get you to the point that you can teach it to other people. And that there were a lot of people who had weaseled their way into positions where they could do a lot of damage. They had never read that book. They had never read this book. This was our educational manual, our beliefs. There were a number of people who weaseled their way into positions in the group in which they could do a lot of damage. And they never read this book. That will never happen again. That will never happen again. Right? And I'm too nice. I really am. The second somebody came along and they weren't familiar with this book, and the second I said to them, get into this book, and they didn't want to, they knew it all already, or whatever, then be gone. Look, there are certain type of people, right? And I'm not being unfair to men because there's women like this too, but it's much more pronounced in men. You can't teach them anything. They know everything already. Well, you know what? This is an education project. So if we can't teach you anything, you really shouldn't be here. Because that's the whole point of the CPI, is we're here to teach people. So it's a socialist education project. So if you are so confident that you already know everything, then you really shouldn't be here, because we're a group that teaches people. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's just, one of my biggest regrets, I'll say this, is when I was a young man, I wanted people to know how smart I was. So someone would be telling me something. Yeah, we have audiobooks. We've got audiobooks. There are audiobooks on the YouTube channel, Aaron. When someone would be telling me something, rather than letting them finish their sentence, I would interrupt them and say, oh yeah, I know that, but no. You just got to be patient, right? If you want people to know how educated you are and how well-informed you are, what you need to do is wait. And sometimes someone telling you something, it's not because they think you're stupid and don't know it. It's because it means something to them. And one of my biggest regrets is when I was a young man, I was very defensive about what I knew. Very, very defensive about what I knew. And because I was defensive about what I knew, I would not let people around me finish their sentences because I needed to prove to them that I knew something. No, you don't want to do that. I'll never forget, there was a funny story. Now we're back to 12 years ago today when I moved to New York City. I guess we'll just end with this. I could go on all night, and I'm going to stream tomorrow. 12 years ago when I moved to New York City, I slept at various people's apartments before I eventually got my own place to stay. I rented a basement in Queens. That was the first place I lived. But before I rented that basement, for the first couple months, I was couch surfing. There was an older lady who I couch surfed. I slept at her place. There was an older lady I stayed with. And this older lady, she was an older communist in her 70s. And for a while, I just couldn't stand her because she would just start telling me like basic facts about communism. Like, oh, well, there's the proletarians and the workers. And I would get so angry with her. And I would say, yeah, I know that. But then I realized after a while, just let her get it out. Just let her get it out. And so I would sit there and she would explain to me basic things. And it was like a tape recorder. You just had to push play and just let the tape run out. So I would sit there and she would tell me things that I knew. She would speak to me in a kind of condescending way. But once the tape, if I let her get the tape out, once she was finally done, right? And sometimes she went on for a good 20, 30 minutes, right? It was not easy. But once the tape ran out, then she would listen to me. And once I learned that, I let the tape run out, our relationship got way better. Suddenly, then living with her was a joy. And I think it was just that she felt that she'd never been listened to. I think that she was an older lady and people didn't take the time to listen to her. She wanted to be listened to. And she genuinely did believe in communism and cared about communism. So I learned to just shut my mouth. Don't say I know. Don't just let her talk. And if I would do that, our relationship vastly improved. And I learned from that. Right? And I look back on that, and there's been many instances in my life that I can remember where someone's trying to tell me something that's important for them. And I interrupted them. And I regret that because, often people say things, and it's not necessarily because they want you to hear it. They want to hear themselves tell it to you. Do you know what I'm saying? It's important for them to have said it to you. So if you go, yeah, I know that, but big wrong, big mistake. Big mistake. Big mistake. You just got to let people say what they want to say. Again, I'm widely attacked for doing a listening exercise. God forbid. I do this listening exercise with people in the group, and we're going to keep doing that, right? If you're helping out with our March 25th conference, you're going to do the listening exercise. And if you think that's a cult, get lost, right? You're going to do the listening exercise, right? And you're going to do some other exercises because we're trying to build an organization here. You got to have people skills, right? And that, there you go.